Central American countries continue to feel the impact of Tropical Storm Bonnie, which is close to becoming a hurricane as it moves across the Pacific. Russia denounced on Ukrainian missile and drone attacks on populated areas of 2 Russian cities, leaving 5 dead and 21 buildings and 40 private homes damaged. West African leaders met on Sunday to review sanctions imposed on 3 military-ruled countries in the region. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Central American countries continue to feel the impact of Tropical Storm Bonnie, which is close to becoming a hurricane as it moves across the Pacific. According to the United States National Hurricane Center, the center of the storm entered the Pacific Ocean after making landfall on Friday night on the border between Nicaragua and Costa Rica. This Sunday, its center was located some 270 kilometers south of El Salvador, with maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers per hour and a westward speed of 28 kilometers per hour. The NHC warns that heavy rains are expected in parts of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and southern El Salvador. The weather agency indicates that the storm is strengthening and advancing parallel to the Central American coast towards southern Mexico and is expected to become a hurricane by Monday. In El Salvador, 1 person died in the midst of heavy rains and floods caused by Tropical Storm Bonnie. The spokesman of the Rescue Command, Herbert Vanegas, informed that the victim was identified as Maura Carolina Beltran, 24 years old, who died after being swept away by a flood in a community in the town of San Martin, located 15 kilometers east of San Salvador. The storm knocked down trees, flooded streets, some hospitals, and houses, while the authorities carried out evacuations and rescues. On the other hand, some 250 people affected in the vicinity of the capital were sent to a temporary shelter. In Australia, authorities ordered the evacuation of thousands of people after floods caused by heavy rains in Sydney. Thousands of Australians were ordered to evacuate their homes. Roads across the city were blocked, and authorities say at least 18 evacuation orders were issued in the west of the country's largest city, an area that had already been hit by severe flooding last March. Australia suffers from ongoing natural disasters caused by climate change, with frequent bushfires, episodes of coral bleaching on the Great Barrier Reef, and increasingly common and intense flooding. In Italy, authorities in the region of Lombardy are calling upon the government to declare a state of emergency throughout the country due to the drought affecting the north of the country, which has been described as the worst water crisis in the last 70 years. The regional authorities announced a water state of emergency until September 30th in order to limit water consumption to the minimum essential. Now, Lombardy's President Attilio Fontana, as has the Prime Minister Mario Draghi, to announce the measure at a national level in view of this situation, described as of high hydraulic severity. He also urged citizens to minimize the use of fresh water. Authorities of Emilia-Romagna's region joined the request of Lombardy and asked the government to activate specific economic funds to face the crisis in the region. According to its proposal, the most urgent actions include guaranteeing water supply with cistern trucks, digging new wells, or installing new pipelines and pumping systems. In Brazil, over 3,700 square kilometers of the Amazon rainforest have been devastated so far this year, 2022, a figure that corresponds to 3 times the size of Rio de Janeiro. According to official data from the National Institute for Space Research, in charge of measuring real-time deforestation, the highest 6-month deforestation record so far was in 2021, when it had reached 3,605 square kilometers, a figure that has gradually increased since 2017. The report indicates that between January 4th and June 24th, deforestation covered an area of 3,750 square kilometers, the worst 6-month record since 2016. The organization also warned about forest fires, which have increased by 17% compared to 2021, and as of June 23rd, 1,113 fires have been recorded in the Amazon. In Brazil, former President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva confirmed that if elected to the presidency in October's election, he will probably serve only one term. The former president stated on Friday in a statement to the press that he will not be a president who thinks of re-election, but his main goal is to be a president focused on governing the country and leaving it in good shape. Lula also affirmed that he would dedicate every minute of his 4-year term to see if he could do more than he did in 8 years, referring to his 2 consecutive terms in office between 2003 and 2010. The former president stated he expects that after his new presidential term, when he hands over the leadership to someone else, the country will be prosperous and growing. In Venezuela, the government received a first lot of Coviran Barakat, an Iranian vaccine against COVID-19. This is a batch of 100,000 doses of the national production vaccine, which is guaranteed to be 90% effective in the prevention of the disease caused by the coronavirus in the current pandemic. This first delivery is made within the framework of the relations of friendship, cooperation, complementary and diplomatic ties of peace between the two countries, and seeks to further strengthen relations in the area of health. Iran and Venezuela have expanded cooperation since 2020, particularly for energy projects focused on helping the Caribbean nation to relieve the effects of the sanctions imposed by the United States. We're taking a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back from the South. In Argentina this Saturday, July the 2nd, the death of Miguel Echecolas, repressor and one of the men responsible for the 1976 military dictatorship, was confirmed. Echecolas died this Saturday morning at the age of 93 in a private clinic where he had been hospitalized for several weeks due to health problems. During the dictatorship, he was the right hand of General Ramon Camps, responsible for the repression in the province of Buenos Aires, one of the hardest experienced during the dictatorship. Echecolas directed up to 21 illegal detention camps. He was serving his sentences in regular prison in the detention center that operates in Campo de Mayo. Echecolas had 9 life sentences after being convicted for at least 91 crimes, including murders, forced disappearances, tortures, and baby theft. The NGO Abuelas de Plaza Mayo, whose objective is to locate and return to their legitimate families all the children taken by the last dictatorship, said the following on Twitter: convicted of hundreds of crimes against humanity, at the age of 93, the genocidal Echecolas, who up to the last day kept the pact of silence, died. He takes to the grave the truth about the fate of our children and grandchildren, but we achieved justice and memory to sustain the hashtag Nunca Más, never again. This Sunday, the Russian Defense Ministry said Kyiv carried out deliberate missile and drone attacks on popular areas of 2 Russian cities. The attacks left 5 people dead and 21 buildings and 40 private homes damaged. Moscow reported that Ukrainian troops fired at the territories of Kursk and Belgrod regions with Toshkayu missiles and raised drones. According to the Defense Ministry, the air defense system shot down the 3 missiles launched in Belgorod, but the breakage of one of them fell on a residential area, resulting in the above-mentioned human losses. In that sense, the Kremlin claimed that the attack was deliberately planned and carried out against the civilian population of the Russian cities, since there are no military targets in the region. The Russian government adds cereals to the list of export items to be compulsory paid in rubles. The authorities published a resolution putting into effect the decision to include grains, sunflower oil, and flour to the list of exports to be paid in rubles on a mandatory basis. The resolution provides for a 1-year extension of the duty payable in local currency in respect of exported oil and flour until August 31, 2023. The base price for the calculation of the export duty on wheat will be 15,000 rubles, translating to more than $267 per ton. Also, the grain harvest in Russia is expected to reach 130 million tons this year, which will cover the country's domestic needs as well as its exports. Russian President Vladimir Putin said sanctions imposed by the West since the beginning of the special military operation in Ukraine are speeding up the process of reunification with Belarus. In his speech at the Forum of Russia and Belarus Regions, the Russian president stressed that Moscow and Minsk will continue to develop cooperation in the field of fertilizers and food production. President Putin added that both countries will be working on an agreement to export products from Belarus to other markets through the Russian port in the Baltic. According to Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, this is because Moscow and Minsk are committed to jointly face global challenges while calling Western sanctions senseless and illegal. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. West African leaders met on Sunday in Ghana's capital Accra to review sanctions they have imposed on three military ruled countries in their volatile region. Heads of the Economic Community of West African States were gathering to assess efforts to secure timetables and other guarantees for restoring civilian rule in Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso. Mali underwent coups in August 2020 and May 2021, followed by Guinea in September 2021 and Burkina Faso this January. Opening Sunday's summit, Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo said the 15-member bloc was committed to supporting the three countries' return to democratic order and would take appropriate decisions after hearing reports on their progress. A passenger bus slid off a mountain road and fell into a deep ravine in heavy rain in southwest Pakistan on Sunday, killing 19 people and injuring 12 others. The assistant administrator for the district of Jirani in Baluchistan province said about 35 passengers were traveling in the bus. He said rescue workers were searching for survivors in the wreckage of the destroyed vehicle and surroundings. He also said apparently the bus slid on the wet road amid heavy rain and fell about 61 meters into the ravine. Deadly road accidents are common in Pakistan due to poor road infrastructure and disregard for traffic laws, as well as poorly maintained vehicles. Last month, 22 people were killed in a similar accident when a bus fell into a ravine in Kila Saifullah district.
Unfortunately, a passenger bus was traveling towards Quetta when the bus fell into a deep ravine. It could be that the driver slept, or the bus slid on the wet road amid heavy rain. So far, 19 passengers have been killed, and 12 injured passengers have been moved to hospital.
The Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hossein Amir-Abdollahian, traveled to Syria with the aim of decreasing tensions between this nation and Turkey. The Iranian Foreign Minister was received this Saturday at Damascus International Airport by his Syrian counterpart, Faisal Mikdad, to initiate an official visit to Syria where they are expected to address issues such as regional and international development as well as strengthening bilateral relations. One of the main topics to be discussed are Syrian-Turkish tensions, mainly after the statements of Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who threatened to launch a military operation in northern Syria against Kurdish fighters, whom he describes as terrorists. Hossein Amir-Abdollahian's visit comes after meeting in Ankara with Turkish authorities to discuss their attempts for a new military operation against the Kurdish people in Syria. On Saturday, Israel carried out an airstrike on a coastal Syrian village near the Lebanon border. According to local media, Israeli warplanes flying over northern Lebanon fired missiles towards several chicken farms in the village of Hamidiyeh, south of the coastal city of Tartus. Syrian state media reported 2 people, including a woman, were wounded. The attack was the first since a June 10th Israeli airstrike on the international airport in the Syrian capital of Damascus that caused significant damage to infrastructure and runways. In Africa, with the peak of the crisis fast approaching, FAO calls for preventing humanitarian catastrophe. With the risk of famine growing in the Horn of Africa due to intense and prolonged drought, FAO urgently called for safeguarding lives and livelihoods and preventing a humanitarian catastrophe. To do so, the organization launched a rapid response and mitigation plan focusing exclusively on the four drought epicenters in the region: Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, to prevent the deterioration of food security conditions and protect the lives of nearly 5 million people. The funds received so far will help some 700,000 people whose lives are at risk. In Mozambique, a park welcomed its first white rhinos in 40 years after 19 of these threatened animals completed a 1,600-kilometer truck ride from South Africa. Sinave is now the only national park in the country to house all big five African game animals: elephants, rhino, lion, leopard, and buffalo. Since 2015, 2,400 animals from 14 species have been released into the reserve. The rhinoceroses were transferred to Sinave from South Africa over several days. The trip has been the longest ever transfer of rhinos by road. Some of the animals were released from their enclosures into a sanctuary featuring extra security to protect them from damage. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.